The Blitz, high school football from the field to your screen. Sponsored by Mocse Credit Union and KW Recovery Lab.
Welcome to The Blitz. I'm Frankie Tovar.
Sup, I'm Eddie Ruiz.
Yep, that is your name. That's right. Eddie's back, and he's back for the week that he wanted to watch because we're covering Hilmar versus Sonora, the final pre-league game of the season. And Hilmar came out on top despite a sloppy game, 39-20.
You know what's funny too is we're starting to do all these weekly previews, for football. And this was the game of the week that I picked. And guess what?
Oh, you called it?
Yes, and it was the Blitz game of the week. And I thought it was a pretty competitive game, man.
It was a competitive game, a hard-fought one. Although game of the week, you were talking about excitement and minimal mistakes. This wasn't that game.
No, there was a lot of mistakes.
It was a good game to watch because you saw Hilmar encounter adversity for the first time this season, and they overcame it because entering this game, every single game they had played, they scored 40 or more points, and they dominated in dominating fashion.
No, they did. And then you take a look at Sonora. They were winless going in there, but they had beaten Hilmar the past 4 seasons consecutively, pretty handedly for the most part. Those were games that we don't want to talk about. But this game, nonetheless, Hilmar paid them back for all those losses, and it was sloppy, though. There was turnovers. There was a lot of fumbles on both sides, and there was turnovers on both sides. But nevertheless, Hilmar came out on top, and I think they're happy. Coach Marcus just wants to move past this, though, because we'll talk about who they have moving forward, another undefeated team.
And we'll talk more about his response to the game afterwards as well. Interesting to note, you brought up Coach Marquez.
Yeah.
Entering the game, Sonora was 0-3, and he told us this was the best 0-3 team he had ever seen. They came out and proved that, and you're going to see right now on these Friday night highlights. We're starting high tempo on Hilmar's first possession, and no, Isaac Sharp doesn't have the ball. I got faked out, but I wasn't the only one. That's Ryan Teixeira blasting past the Sonora defense for a 33-yard gain, and just 2 plays later, he's back at it, this time with an air delivery to Brian Millen, and it's priority shipping. That's a 43-yard touchdown on the 3-play drive to put Hilmar up 7-0.
All right, so followed by that touchdown from Hilmar. Sonora's going to try to get things going. Jake Gookin with Evan Beard, and that kid's really big, by the way, number 6. UC Davis was looking at him. But check this out. Hilmar's defense is solid. Nick Aguilar is a beast, and he gets that sack right there with 3:54 left in the first. Hilmar gets the ball right back, and it takes only 5 plays. Isaac Sharp, 78-yard touchdown run, makes it 14-0 with 2:05 left. Hilmar's rolling right now, man.
With that kind of speed, it's a no-brainer to keep feeding Sharp the ball. Here he is, hitting the edge once again for a 33-yard gain, but there's holding on the play, so it's wiped off the board. And it's followed by another mistake, a mishandled handoff and fumble. There's a scramble for the ball, and Sonora's Evan Bearden comes up with it, and the very next play, the Wildcats capitalize. Here's number 21, Mike Mckernon, popping out of the middle of the Jacket defense for a 60-yard gain. He almost hits Pater, but he's stopped at the 3-yard line by Millen. And 2 plays later, Jake Gookin decides to do it himself. He takes a hit and crosses the goal line to cut Hilmar's lead. It's 14-7, and that's how the teams enter halftime.
Hilmar's not happy with that score, though, Frankie. Honestly, man, they're trying to get things rolling. They're going to do it on defense right now, though. That's Brian Malone with the pick, where there's only 9:01 left in the third, and they're going to force Sonora to work for every single yard, everything. Brendan Mason gets the fumble recovery, and he's our boy, man. He's always talking to us. So on the offensive side, though, they get the ball as well. It's going to be Isaac Sharp. This kid's fast. 55-yard touchdown run. It's going to make it 21-7 with 3:51 left in the third. Hilmar's rolling, my friend.
But not to be outdone, quarterback Jake Gookin responds on the very next possession with a 57-yard read option run for a touchdown. Sharp, Alvarez, and Millen can't catch him. It's now 21-14 as the third quarter winds down. But you know what? Teixeira would like to give it a try himself. Here's a read option run of his own, running off the block by Aiden Azevedo and all the way into the end zone for a 36-yard touchdown to extend Hilmar's lead 27-14.
All right, so now we jump into the fourth quarter. 7:10 left on the clock. There's Gookin trying to find Bearden. Milan's covering him. Looks pretty clean, kind of a physical call, but it's a flag, PI. So they get pretty much in there, and it's going to be a touchdown. Gookin's going to rush it in, and it's going to be 27-20 after the missed extra point. And, this is a close game now. I'm scared.
Yeah, Sonora's pretty excited, but it only takes 1 play to take the wind out of their sails. And no surprise, it's Isaac Sharp saying, "I am the captain now," with his thrilling, stunning, lightning-fast 83-yard dash down the sideline. Sonora's trying, but they can't catch him. The score's now 33-20, but you know what? We're not finished with this run, so let's take it back. Rewind so we can watch Sharp shine one more time. And why? Why, Eddie? Because it's the play of the game.
Woo.
That's right. Let's see how many defenders he can make miss. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and wait for it, wait for it, wait for it.
And
There's 11. Defenses hate this guy.
This is it. This is the last scoring drive. Isaac Sharp on just the second play of this drive picks up 17 yards. By the way, he had over 200 yards, which is crazy. And here's Ryan Teixeira. He's not done finding the end zone. He already found it 3 times before. 26-yard touchdown with 2:03 left in the game. But that's it. 39-20. Hilmar's 4-0.
Let's go.
Jackson 3, 1, 2, 3, Jackets!
Another batch of highlights come and gone, the 4th of the season.
Yeah.
We'll have plenty more to come. Thank you to Hilmar and Sonora for providing a dramatic game and tons of highlights to watch. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Mocse Credit Union and KW Recovery Lab. Hey, Eddie, if I need a loan, where should I go?
Well, there's only one place to check out if you're in Turlock, and that's Mocse Credit Union. Do you need an auto loan, a toy loan, a home loan? Look no further. Mocse Credit Union has you covered, as they've had us covered in the past for all years, basically. So check them out on Gear Road. Let them know that the Blitz, Frankie, and Eddie sent you.
And our newest sponsor and the newest business here in Turlock is KW Recovery Lab. It's the one-stop shop for health and recovery. You can go get ice baths, cryotherapy recovery, Normatec recovery technology, massages. There's so much more to do. They're open from 8 to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5:30 on Friday, and 9 to 1 p.m. on Saturday. They want you and your teammates to come out and recover in style. Recover as hard as you train. KW Recovery Lab here in Turlock. So you saw all the top plays from the highlights, but you didn't see the totals as far as yardage goes. Hilmar, gangbusters on the ground,
Straight up.
439 yards on the ground. Very impressive, 593 total. They had 3 turnovers, which is not what Frankie Marquez or the Yellow Jacket fan base wants to see, but nonetheless, that yardage count, high enough to, get rid of all that.
Oh, yeah. Especially because they only allowed 215 total yards from Sonora, and most of those yards were kind of like, there were long plays, which we saw that. You guys could check it out on the highlights. Yeah, a lot of home
run
hits.
we all know that Hilmar usually has a really good defense.
They usually do.
Yeah, they do.
They were tough to definitely score on that game. But then you take a look at the offensive side. Obviously, they're getting a lot of production from various guys. They have a lot of weapons.
One
on
guy
the
in
running
particular,
game.
though, right?
One guy in particular, though, Isaac Sharp. We know that guy. He had 222 rushing yards. That's crazy on 13 carries. Like, wow. And then you take a look at JR, Justin Renfro. He had, I think it was 55 yards, 12 carries. Not bad, because he's the bruiser.
He's the
guy
bruiser.
that he's going to go in, and he's going to hit you, and he's going to just pound the rock in there. And then you take a look at Ryan Teixeira. The kid was a stud. I mean, 285 total yards. He had 4 touchdowns, 131 rushing. I mean, 154 passing. I feel like we could just talk about him all game.
Well, you know what? There's one reason why that is very impressive, because Hilmar runs a dual quarterback system.
Yeah.
So every possession, there's a different quarterback. There's 2 quarterbacks. So if you think about that, Teixeira really only played half the game.
It's crazy.
And he still put up those numbers and got 4 touchdowns. Very impressive. But real quick,
Give me one
let's switch
touchdown.
over to Sonora, because they had some very good players as well.
They did.
Evan Bearden, number 6, was a beast. I was surprised that they didn't get the ball into his hands more, because he was like 6'3", 6'4", maybe even 6'5". It says that on Max Press, but we all know teams lie a little bit. They want to exaggerate their player size and everything. But he was still a beast nonetheless. And then the quarterback, Jake Gukin, man,
he's tough.
He
dude.
was
He's
throwing
tough.
that rock
Tough
all
kid.
over the place, but he was really impressing me with his ground game. Rushing that ball, he found openings in the defense, and he exploited them, and he made some touchdowns himself. But back to Hilmar, because it was the other quarterback who really made the difference, and so it's no surprise that Ryan Teixeira is the KW Recovery Lab Impact Player of the Game.
We started off pretty rough, but that line just kind of picked it up, and we just started, just picking it up, and we just started rolling. Once we started rolling, we just got our game out, got our game back together. Oh, yeah. Key players, definitely Isaac Sharp, Brian Milan. They both got amazing speed. Once we put all those weapons together, we're just going. We wanted to come in fighting these guys, and we did. We had our few hiccups, but we ended with the win, and we just can't wait till league starts. Thank you, KW Recovery Lab.
So Friday was my first chance to watch Hilmar play.
It was.
But Eddie, that was your 3rd time. You'd watched them throughout the whole season. What was the most surprising thing you took away from Friday's game?
Okay, so if we're talking about the other games, how they played, mistakes, for example, in that Los Banos game, we did see a couple of turnovers, or I did, excuse me, but they were able to recover right away. They kind of forgot about that, excuse me. But you take a look at this game with Sonora, I think they went in there, I don't want to say careless, but I'll tell you what.
Cocky?
They went in there, that's a word. I'll tell you what, check out the thesaurus, check out the word cocky. Oh, it could be various of words, right? They were overconfident, no doubt about it. I mean, they were undefeated. They scored so many points going back to last year's playoff run. But Sonora came in and hit them in the mouth, and they were tough. And I talked to a couple of kids too on the sidelines, as the game was kind of carrying on. I was like, what's going on? How are they? And they're essentially saying, this is the toughest team we played. They're not giving up without a fight. And as simple as that, though, that caused turnovers, that caused fumbles. It was just an array of mistakes. But fortunately, they were able to rebuttal in the second half and kind of forget about it, score more points than Sonora, obviously. And their offense is rolling. We know they could score points, man. I'm just saying. But Coach Marcus said they have to limit the turnovers, and he was really upset about the turnovers. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, again, this is my first time watching them this season, but I've covered Hilmar 5-6 seasons in the past.
4-section title games, man.
The thing that I was surprised about was that this game was uncharacteristically undisciplined for Hilmar. Hilmar is always disciplined. Frank Marquez has a good control of that ship.
He's a G.
This game was different. The penalties, not just the penalties, they had 2 players ejected.
That's true.
2 players ejected. Man. That's the first time I've seen that happen on a Hilmar field. Yeah. And that's a big deal because now Hilmar is down 2 players next game.
Oh, man.
The big game. They're taking on Ripon in the TVL league opener. They're going to be on the road, but they're not going to have those 2 impact players.
No, they're not. And Ripon is scary, guys. If you're watching this, if you're listening to us real quick.
They know.
I'm just saying they're 4-0 and they beat Sonora 34-0. Listen, some people
so undefeated
don't always
versus
check
undefeated,
max preps, man. Undefeated, and it's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. I wish we could be there, but we're not going to be there. Frankie, where are we going to be at, man?
We're going to be here in Turlock at Joe Dudley Stadium for the Pittman High versus Somerville High game. That one's going to be a good one because Pittman is also undefeated 4-0, and they're looking really good.
They are looking clean. They're looking sharp. Oh, Isaac Sharp. Hey, what coincidence?
Hey,
no pun intended, man. No, but point being is, you have a guy like Peyton Bass, you have a guy like Trade Fair, and you have a guy like Jacob Partita. These guys are breaking school records. They're rushing over 200 yards each a game, essentially. Not Trade Fair because he's a quarterback, but that kid can toss it, by the way.
And they're scoring 40 or more points per game as well.
Exactly. And not only that, I personally think Trade Fair is one of the better quarterbacks in the area. I kind of been saying that behind the scenes, so look out for him. He's really humble, though, man. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Like him. But
all
look
the
out
kids
for
are
him.
nice, though. All the kids are nice, though.
Of course
they
are. But he's very soft-spoken. So I'm just saying, Trayton, we know you're good, man.
So Pittman, Hilmar, Somerville, they were all scrimmaging each other before the season even started. And you were there, Eddie.
I was there, and I got to see all of them, obviously. Things change, though, from your first pre-league game. This was just a scrimmage, exactly.
The scrimmage, the games.
Almost about a month ago. So, things changed a lot. But without question, Pittman and Hilmar, I feel like, are definitely improving. And Somerville's a very young
What should we expect from Somerville, though? For a lot of the viewers out there who tune in next week who aren't familiar with Somerville, what can we expect from the Bears?
A smaller division team, lower division. Pittman's obviously, at this time, they're D2. So it's just going to be something that I don't think Somerville's going to expect. I think Peyton and Jacob and Train are going to come out and they're going to hit him in the mouth and they're going to score a lot of points. It's going to be tough for Somerville
taking Pittman
to win
in this game.
Of course, man. It's going to be tough for Somerville to win.
I think I am too.
And that's speaking
I think I am too.
Objectively. Yeah, man. That's speaking just objectively. And you know what else is cool, though? I'm just saying we have 3 undefeated teams in our coverage area, the Blitz coverage area so far after week 4. That's cool.
Who are those teams?
Daenerys
Pittman, obviously. Daenerys.
Yeah.
We'll be covering them later in the season when they take on SAL rival Delhi High. But next week again, Pittman versus Somerville, a nice tune-up game before they enter their first season in the CCAL.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a tough one. So we'll see how Pittman does when they have their homecoming. It's not just a regular game, it's the homecoming against Somerville next week. You can find that at turlockjournal.com. And of course, you can find all other updates and content on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter at Turlock Journal. So until next week, I'm Frankie Tovar.
I'm Eddie Ruiz.
Good night.